We're still loading and we are live. Happy Friday, everybody. We were getting kind of pumped up behind the scenes. So, Christopher and I are going to have some fun today. Any big plans for the weekend just to get started?
Honestly, weekends for me are just like a bit of paperwork stuff that I wasn't able to do in the end of the week. But most importantly, is spending time with my family and friends, taking time to relax and just decompress a bit. That's pretty much what my weekends entail, and usually.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to do that. I think as business owners, we sometimes forget, it's like you could work as much as you want on your business. You could just work nonstop if you really wanted to. At least I know that the things that I have to do are endless.
Honestly, it's not even a question about forget, Abby. I love the fact that you're highlighting that as business owners, we have to understand there was this ideology that was, and I'm kind of diving in real quick, but like there's this ideology that
Hey,
was sold
go
to
for
us
it.
the last half a decade or so, that hustle culture, that I will sleep when I die, and that grind aspect. But it is actually completely counterintuitive to our human bodies and our productivity. And there's studies that
Yeah.
came out in the last 2, 3 years that show if you work anywhere between like around 55 hours a week. If you work any hours more than that, you're actually being less productive. You're hurting your next week, and you're being so much less efficient in your quality of work and your service that you're putting in. So I always try to work 55 hours as hard as possible, try to be as in a state of flow within those 55 so I could be most effective. But yeah, I do believe
Mhm.
in taking time off, taking time to unwind, taking time to just not think about business and beyond. So I'm a huge proponent in that 100%.
Ooh, and I think we're going to get into that more, but I want to make sure I at least introduce you to our audience first because you are up to some very cool stuff. And of course, I had your bio pulled up so that I wouldn't butcher it. Here it is. So, everybody, if you have not met Christopher Dedeyan, you should, and you're meeting him right now. And he is a professional speaker and peak performance expert who helps entrepreneurs, leaders, and employees alike manage stress, increase productivity, have more energy, and he always gets his message across in a humoristic, charming, energetic, and passionate way. So we're going to hold you to those standards this morning and have some fun.
Let's go. I like it.
Yeah. So obviously, the people listening, the people watching, whether you're listening to this after Friday or watching this on your Friday morning, you probably own a business or maybe you're thinking of starting your own
Mhm.
business. So I think I already know we're going to get some valuable conversation today. I'm super excited about it. So, first, give a little background, Christopher, for people who haven't met you. What brought you to this point in your career to want to help people with, a lot of these struggles that we all have?
Okay, I'm gonna have to take you back a little while back when I was 8 years old. So I'm really taking it back,
You
and
can
there's a
take us way back. That's
yeah,
okay.
exactly. But there is a correlating reason and factor, and the reason why I'm taking you back to 8 years old is that that's when I was diagnosed with dyslexia. So for people who don't know what dyslexia is, it's a learning disability that has to do with reading and writing. And at 8 years old, when my parents figured out that I was dyslexic at their diagnostic, they found a specialized school for me to help me become more efficient and understand what dyslexia is and learn the tools and methodologies I need to succeed, which was called Vanguard in a greater region of Montreal, Canada, where I live right now. So that was the first step for me to figuring out what dyslexia is, different types of learning, and really meeting my first challenge in a very significant way at a young age. Especially when you're
Oh, yeah.
young, the schooling system is a barrier to correlating your intelligence in a certain way, right? That's the first thing that you have to really see, hey, where's your level of intelligence compared to your peers, and good, bad, or whatever way, because I do believe that there's a lot of things that need to change in the education system. It's still what it was. So as I went into that school, I started becoming really comfortable with dyslexia, starting understanding how I learn and started succeeding at it. And at the end of
Mm.
my high school, just like everybody, you start looking at what do you want to do as a profession and a career. The first thing that came up to mind for me is I want to be a lawyer. I like wearing nice suits. I like having conversations. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. As I looked into more about the career of being a lawyer, I realized that 85 to 95% of the job is reading and writing. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not going to do that. I'm like, let me find something that has a really limited amount of reading and writing that is involved with the career. So what I found
Mhm.
was fireman. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do that. Fireman, the fire trucks, the boys, the adrenaline, helping people. I'm like, that's what I want. So I actually went into that career,
Awesome.
started working at Pratt& Whitney Canada, which is a company that does airplane motors, and I was becoming an industrial fireman there. And as I was working there, I realized that that wasn't my calling. The universe hadn't put me on this planet to do that. I realized that I was meant to be an entrepreneur. Like when the teachers used to come into the classroom and say, kids, put yourself in teams that fit. Even before she finished the word three, I had my head up and I was looking for who reads the best, who writes the best. Let me put the team together and delegate the work, right? Delegation 101. And then I remember when I
Oh,
used to go to
wow.
college
Love
and I
that.
used, yeah, I mean, this is all things that were just happening naturally because I had to succeed in the education system that was given to me that wasn't at all correlating my strengths and weaknesses, right? It was so much more on my weaknesses, which is reading and writing. I remember when I was in college, I had to negotiate my grade out after I failed. I used to go see the professor and be like, oh, no, that's not what I meant in the exam. This is what I meant. I used to get my grade up, negotiation 101. So then once I realized that I was meant to be an entrepreneur, but I was
Yeah.
repressing that, calling it out of practicality because of my fear of reading, I decided to go into brokerage to become a real estate broker. Started into that, started succeeding, but like anybody that is in entrepreneurship, they know that doesn't happen right away. It took me actually first like a year and a half to start succeeding in real estate. I actually paid to be a broker the first year and a half. And then afterwards, it started succeeding quite well to a point that I was like an up and coming broker in my agency. And one day, one of the speech therapists that used to follow me in high school gave me a call to ask me a question about a property she wanted to sell. And then a few minutes later, she's like, Chris, how's it going? And as you guys are seeing, and I'm going to get off my rant here, I'm definitely able to go on rants. And I
Hey,
went
you're
on it. I'm like, oh my,
allowed. This is a place to go on rants. It's okay.
okay, perfect. Thank you, Abby. I appreciate that. So as she was telling me how's everything's going, I was telling her, everything's great. I'm succeeding in what success society tells us is, the money, the car, the house, the suits, everything was going great in that regards. And she's like, I am the keynote speaker at this event put together by the Learning Disability Institute of Quebec, which is a province where I'm from in Canada. I would love for you to come and present your story of how you are a successful dyslexic entrepreneur. I'm like, 100%. I'm there. That same evening, Abby, she writes me a message, an email, and in the subject, it's written in big caps. Chris, I don't think you should do this speech because there's still a lot of negative misconception of what learning disability is and what dyslexia is, and you might lose some clients. Now, I know she was
Mhm.
coming from a place of love. She was coming from a place that she wanted to
Right.
protect me. But I read her an email being like, I'm going to call you Monday and we'll talk about this. Monday rolls around, give her a call. And I'm like, listen, Bridget, if I am not on that stage, I'm not helping the kids that are in the school benches right now. I'm not helping the past generation and the future generation and my future kids because this is something hereditary. I'll be fake. I'm not
Mhm.
somebody fake. I need to do this. And not only that, if clients don't want to work with me because I'm dyslexic, those aren't clients I want to work with either. And she's like, oh my God,
Right.
yes, that's exactly what I thought. I just wanted to come from you. I'm like, perfect. So Abby, the day of the event comes. I open the door and there isn't, because she told me it's about 200 people at this event. There isn't 200
Mhm.
people. It's more like 1,000 people. Now at this point,
Oh my God.
my heart is beating. I am sweating bullets. I've never done a speech. I'm sitting down, speaker after speaker is going on stage, doctorate this, that, like letters after their names. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And then the moment comes, they're like, Chris, please come on stage. And the best way that I could describe what happened is almost like it was this divine moment that the universe was preparing me for this my whole life. I went on stage and it was just magical. People were clapping, people were crying. I get such a great response from it. And I knew from that moment on, that's what I had to do for the rest of my life. And then from there, the
Wow.
second I left from there were so many great things that happened. Articles got written about me. The Ministry of Education did a work with me. I started my speaking career, started speaking in classrooms without even knowing what it was, but I knew that's what I had to do for the rest of my life. So I completely stopped everything that I was doing in brokerage and started building the company that I'm working on right now that I've been doing for the last half a decade or so, Dedeyan Enterprises, as a professional speaker and coach. Everybody thought I was crazy because I had really succeeded in building this brokerage company for myself. And I was an up and coming young broker. And I let that go because I knew in my gut, this is what I had to do. So that's how I got into this industry. That's how I'm really passionate about personal development and helping people become peak performing individuals in every area of their lives.
Right. And, I think too, like with business owners, we think, oh, I'm doing great in business. And we kind of sometimes forget about a lot of other things in our lives. Like, do you
Mhm.
notice that too, that maybe some of your other relationships, not you specifically, but, the figurative you relationships like fall by the wayside when we're so focused? on working in our business.
Abby, you have it like spot on. Honestly, 10 points for Gryffindor. I don't know if there's Harry Potter fans here, but
Woohoo!
I'm a Harry Potter geek. So yeah.
Yep,
So,
I'm there with you. Are you
okay.
kidding?
I felt it. I felt it. That's why I said that. So 100%. Now, why am I saying that? Because that's truly my bread and butter. There's a lot of people that work on their business and they push their business and they succeed. But how's their physical health? How's their emotional health? How's their relationships?
Yeah.
How is their spirituality? How is their knowledge growing? And if you're not taking care of all those other pillars and aspects of your life, you're just leaving opportunities on the table. And that is just the reality and the truth. So by correlating all these aspects of becoming a high performing individual in all of them, you're going to succeed so much more in your business. You're going to succeed so much more in your personal life. You're going to succeed so much more in your spirituality. And that is, in my opinion, living a truly fulfilled life. Because I have clients and they come to me being extremely financially successful, being extremely successful when you look at them on socials and all that. But they come to me crying because their personal life is not going good. They feel unfulfilled. They're making money, but they feel like there's something missing. Their relationships are off. And that's what high performance is. It's not just one area, but it's throughout every area of your life to really live that joyful and fulfilled life.
Oh, totally. And I think, people listening, I would think a lot of us are striving to do that, but there are obviously lots of obstacles in getting there.
Yes.
For your clients, what do you notice are the biggest challenges as you're working with them? Are there any themes you come across a lot?
Yes. It's I mean, I hear it. Let me break it down very simply for you.
Break it down. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Okay. So the first thing as an entrepreneur, why you would fail as an entrepreneur is really your limiting beliefs. The first thing, you have limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So what kind of beliefs do you have? And what are these beliefs disempowering you or empowering you? Are these things that were given to you through your, where you grew up, through your parents, through your environment, through where you're born, so on and so forth? First thing you have to look at, what are your limiting beliefs? Second thing you have to look at is what is your specific plan for success? You have to create a strategic plan for success. The third thing you have to look at is, are you really listening to this plan and are you doing it on a consistent basis? So what's your habits and rituals that are supporting that plan? Because everybody could state a plan, right? New Year's resolution. Everybody does it 2 weeks later, like, oh, cool, we'll forget about it. But how do you break it down in a manageable step that every single day you do it and it doesn't look overwhelming if you want to lose, let's say, 50 pounds in the year or whatever, want to make $1 million this year, whatever the case is. And then the fourth thing is, are you having the proper people around you to keep you accountable, aka your coaches, your mentors, your teammates? So if you have those four things, because these are the four things that are going to make you succeed or fail as an entrepreneur: your limiting beliefs, the lack of a strategic plan, the lack of following that plan with habits and rituals to systemize that, and then finally having a proper team around you that's going to support you through those ups and downs. Because like you said, you could be a high achieving individual. Doesn't mean that there isn't downs. No, they're there. It's that you know what to do when there's those downs. So then you succeed through them. And you understand when those ups are there, that they're not always going to be up. It's easy to smile when the bank account is full, when you have a beautiful, significant other, when the kids are healthy and beyond. That's easy. Yeah, it's easy to look successful then. Try to do it when everything's hitting the fan, right? So those are the four things that you need to look at in a consistent way. And if you do it, there's no other way than success.
I hope people are writing this down and taking notes, because you just gave them the keys to success right there. I mean, you got to execute it still.
Which is a huge part, which 100%. But I mean, what I would suggest is anybody comment, write it down in the message, because the more you write down these things, you'll remember it. And there's so many times that we learn something and we don't put it into action. And there's a very powerful quote that I followed in my life, which was actually from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And he says, to know and not to do is really not to know. So even though everybody knows how to lose weight, very simple, lose weight. And you find the most, and I'm not being facetious here, but find the most obese person in the world and go ask them how to lose weight, and they will tell you exactly what you need to do, which is correct. But how come they're overweight?
Right.
There's a difference between knowing and putting it into action. So to know and not to do is really not to know.
Ooh, I love that. That's really interesting, because it puts it in perspective for sure. It's like, we know what's good for us. I mean, even I'll catch myself, I'll give people advice that I'm like, oh, I should take that advice. Sometimes we are we're our worst critics always, but also sometimes you give advice and you're like, wait, I should have listened to that yesterday or the day before, or I'm going to need that tomorrow. So, I think we're all kind of full of all this knowledge that sometimes we don't listen to ourselves enough.
Yeah.
Do you notice that?
100%. Not only, listen, I believe in, I'm somebody that's very logical, science based and all that, but I do believe in this divine power, and call it whatever, call it God, call it the universe, call it Mother Earth, call it whatever you want, really doesn't matter. But there's this divine power that I believe. And the reason why
Mhm.
I'm mentioning this is when you give that advice to somebody and then you realize, oh, wow, this is great advice for me. There's a reason why you're giving it, because the universe is trying to make you realize something that you know, but you have forgot or you haven't put as much emphasis on. So I'm very much acutely
Yeah.
aware of these informations. Me as a coach, me as a speaker, when I say certain things, being like, hey, okay, where am I at what I'm saying? How can I keep myself accountable? So there's always that give
Mhm.
and take. So I love the fact that you brought that up. 100%.
Oh yeah, I think you and I are kindred spirits here in all this. We might just go all day on this live stream.
Let's go.
So I know, part of the title when I was putting together this live stream, I was excited to chat with about you is kind of bridging that spiritual world and the business world. I know there's
Mhm.
been much more of that lately. People are having,
Yes.
are more open-minded about this whole concept. So how do you approach that, through your speaking, through the clients you work with, give me a little more detail on that.
Oh, that's interesting. It's the first time I really got that question in regards to how I do it, because
Ooh.
yeah. So I mean, hats
I
off to
was
you,
trying to come
Abby.
up with a question you haven't gotten to ask
Yeah,
yet. Do you know
hats
I'm a former journalist? So, hey.
Let's go. Okay, it shows. Abby, you're doing a great job here. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, listen, I'm somebody that I truly believe in what I sell in regards to speaking and coaching. And why I'm saying that is because I have myself 8 coaches and mentors in different facets and areas in
Wow.
my life. I have my main coach, Trevor McGregor. I have, my business coach, my speaking coach, my storytelling coach. I have my spiritual coach, dietitian, workout, and all that fun stuff. Now, why I'm saying this? Because my spiritual coach, Tina, has always said I have a very strong spiritual side, but I come in a frame of a business person. So I am that intermediate bridge between the spiritual world and the business world. And
Mhm.
I've always known that I have that. And there's a way, because there's a lot of people that I resonate with and they have maybe that spiritual look. And if you bring them in a corporate event, like I go and speak in Fortune 500 companies from PepsiCo to Pfizer, Merck, whatever, Raymax, all these amazing companies. But if you go
Mhm.
looking a certain way, it's going to be difficult to get them that information. So going back to your question, how do I go to approach it? I dabble into it slowly, slowly. So I always meet people where they are as a speaker, as a
Mhm.
coach, as a communicator. And then from there, I gradually get them one point to another to a higher vibratory level. And then from there, I always back as much as possible what I say with science. So if we're talking about, let's say, the law of attraction, I could
Mhm.
literally break apart the scientific approach of what is happening in the law of attraction. It's actually real. And for people who don't believe it, just go study quantum physics, and don't study it like in a crazy way. Just go look at
Casual. Yeah.
casually. Yeah, exactly. In air quotes, casually here, but I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. I love the fact that you highlighted that, Abby. But just go check out the double slit theory. You'll understand it. Everything's vibratory. Everything's there's rate of vibratory, right? Everything's an atom. In an atom, there's 99.99999999999% of empty space. That's 13 nines after the dot. Now, if I'm saying everything is an atom, I'm an atom, I could touch myself. This mic is an atom, I could touch it. This screen's an atom. This table's an atom, I could touch everything. Imagine how much radius of energy there is around every single thing around this earth, you included. So if I'm here right now in Montreal, Canada, and Abby, if you don't mind me asking, where are you from right now?
I'm in Denver right now,
You're in
Colorado.
Denver, Colorado. Okay. So we're many,
Yeah.
many miles away, thousands of miles away. We are still connected energetically right now. And that is
Totally.
scientifically proven. And there's research that backs it. So I dabble into it in the way that I present it, and I always put it in business formats, but then I give the science behind it, so I could always correlate that and get that approach towards it. So that's the way I go
Mhm.
about teaching certain of these concepts. Granted, you attract more energies that are similar to you, but that's the way to go about it when you're talking to a certain community of people that might be a bit more not as open to certain ideas or ideologies.
Right. And I mean, I know in in Denver and in Boulder, Colorado, we have a lot of people, where spiritually, that's a
Yes.
thing, kind of the stereotype of Boulder is like the spiritual hippie weed smoking vibe, which is totally fine. So, Andy and I definitely get a lot of that in our business community here, that people are really open to it and
Yeah.
talking about it. And, I notice it with the people that I work with. I'm like, hey, we are attracted to each other in some way. And, I only want to work with people that I have fun with. Why work with anybody that, you're button heads and it doesn't work out?
I mean, that is 100% correct. When we're talking about the law of attraction, that is
Yeah.
exactly it. You attract who you are. So if you want to attract better, you have to level up your vibratory rate. You have to level up your frequency. If you're,
Yeah.
seeking a significant other and you're like, oh my God, all the guys are like this, all the women are like that. No, you're the problem. How can you fix you? How can you be the person that you need to be to attract the person you want? And that's all through vibratory rate. And that's not only in romantic, but that's in business life. That's in financial success. That's in abundance. That's in health. That's in mindset. So if you're a certain way, naturally it will attract together. And that's why you're getting certain clientele that is so much more in your mindset and your approach. And as well, once you're at a certain level in business, not only your clients have the choice to work with you, but you have a choice to work with the clients as well, which is always a fun position to be in life as well.
Oh, right. I would hope that, we all have a choice with who we work with, that you're not taking on
Mhm.
people that you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they're gonna give me a headache. But, hey, if you're listening, I'm giving you permission. Say no to someone if
Yes.
you don't feel like they're a good fit. Because I think that it really is so important. And it kind of comes back to, Christopher, what you were saying of building your team,
Mhm.
having those people. I always like surrounding myself with people who know more than I do, are smarter than me. Obviously there are so many people in that realm for all of us. There's no way we all know everything. So, it's like I think also surrounding yourself with those types of people will help you up your game and attract even better people.
I mean, okay, I couldn't agree more. And you got a spot on previously when you said we're vibing, we're on the same wavelength. It's 100% correct, Abby. You are exactly on. And here's the way I would kind of explain that when you were saying build your team and so on. This is my belief. I truly believe there wasn't one single person that was put on this beautiful blue earth of us that wasn't endowed of a gift. This gift, we usually call it your skill set of like, hey, he's a great runner, he jumps, he's a great singer, she's a great artist, maybe great networker, great business person, so on and so forth. Great mother, great father, whatever it is. Everybody has that one thing, or maybe one or two at most, that is really, really your gift. If every
Mhm.
single individual lives within that gift, as a society, we go more forward with more joy, love, empathy, and respect because you're living your true purpose. But unfortunately, I don't know what the statistics is, but I'm sure it's in the high 90s. Most of the people wake up every single day and do something they completely hate because they
Ugh,
have to,
yeah.
because they're calling it out of practicality or they're in the rat race. But the reality is, Abby, this has nothing to do of Christopher Dedeyan. That's a given name. It has nothing to do with Abby. Those are all given names. We're just here respecting the universe's work, here to serve. So if you're serving in the way you're supposed to serve, and somebody else sees, oh, this is how I'm supposed to serve, and we have the same mission and vision, it's going to come and go into that same team as you because you're working for the greater good. And if your greater good
Mhm.
is, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. If your greater good is, I'm somebody that cuts grass and it's the best way I do it, that's what you do. So understand that we're all here to serve in our own light and power. People will be attracted to that. It's just inevitable. So that's how your team grows naturally, essentially.
Right, and it kind of breaks my heart. I haven't been living under a rock that, obviously a lot of people do jobs they don't enjoy.
Mhm,
I did a job before I started my business that
mhm,
it was okay, but I didn't love it.
mhm.
And, I think a lot of people are almost afraid to think about what it is they actually enjoy and take
Yes.
that leap. Even I have had that feeling when I went all in on being a business owner. It's scary. It's a huge
Yes.
risk. I was talking
Yes.
to someone yesterday about it. She's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a huge planner. I did saved a whole year's salary in case shit hit the fan." You know? So, you can do it that way. But I think, and tell me if I'm wrong or what you think of this, like, how do people kind of get over that hurdle of being like, okay, what do I actually enjoy versus what career have I been in just for the past 20 years because it made me a lot of money?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Uh,
I like it. I'm giving you the hard questions.
yeah. No, I know exactly how to answer this. I'm just trying to think about how was the best way that I could develop it in a most digestible way for your audience and for this moment right now.
Yeah,
And this is the way I'm
take
going
your
to do it.
time.
Yeah.
Please.
So this is the way I'm going to say it. First and foremost, you already know. You don't even need to ask yourself that question. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. It's a gut feeling. Okay. It's intuitive. It's a gut feeling. Now, that gut feeling, everybody, 99% of people, including me at a certain point in our life, including you at a certain point in your life, repress it, calling it out of practicality. Oh, I can't do this. I have bills to pay. Oh, I can't do this. I'm about to have a kid. Oh, I can't do this. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too blue. I'm too red. Whatever it is. We repress it out of practicality because that's what society has taught us. So that's the first thing. Okay. Now that's like, you know it. You don't even need to like research. You know what you're supposed to do. It's scary though, right? The second thing is 100% it's going to be difficult. 100% you're going to fall and fail at it right off the bat. It's kind of like the story that Steve Harvey says, the comedian. He does some motivational speeches and he gives this ideology that at a certain point you have to jump off the cliff. And he's like, you have a parachute when you jump off. But I guarantee you one thing, when you jump off, the parachute's not going to open right away. You're going to fall off these rocks. You're going to fall off these rocks. And at a certain point, the parachute opens up and you're flying. And that's what the reality is. So first of all, you know what you should be doing. Understand that when you jump off, it's not going to be perfect. It never is. Don't get into analysis paralysis. Just jump and figure it out. So that's that framework. Now, if you're asking me specifically how I would go about to really find what and how to like pinpoint the thing that you should do that's the best way to go about it, there is a logical side. Like I gave you the more emotional side, that I lean towards more of the emotional side for this answer. But the logical side is you have to look at your UPS, your unique selling proposition, or your purpose. To go and find that, you have to look at what is the career that it brings a certain amount of money. So look at, first of all, how much money is the career making? Second thing, look at what are your competencies within that career. So are you actually good enough for that? And then third thing you have to look at is, do you have the skills enough to be competent at that? So those are the three circles. So if you just have 2 of the 3, it's never going to work. You have to have all 3 if you want to be successful, right? Let's say it's a career that does make a lot of money and you have necessarily the passion for it, right? But you don't have the skills for it. That's a hobby, right? Like, oh shit, I love basketball, but I'm 5'7". I'm probably not going to make the NBA, right? But oh, there's a lot of money in the NBA. NBA players are making big money. But that's not the reality. It's a hobby, right? But then if you look at something, which is where people get trapped off, it's a career that makes a lot of money. Maybe you have a lot of skill sets about it, but you don't have the passion. That you're in a dead end job and you're probably making significantly well and you're stuck in that aspect. That's where you have to look at all of those 3, and it's where it crosses in the middle. So once you look at these 3 circles, look at your career in regards to how much money it makes. Are you passionate about it? And you have the skill set that you need to be successful at that. You start placing all the careers around it, you're going to find that 1 or 2 that goes right in the middle. And that's the one you have to lean on. Now, granted, you could be passionate about something. It could be an extremely lucrative career, but maybe you don't have all the skill sets yet necessary for it. But that's usually what it is. Then you have to develop it. Maybe you have a base set of skills, but you're just going to develop it to be even more eloquent at that skill set. But that's the way to go about it.
I like that because I think a lot of our listeners are probably more on the logical, analytical side. So, thinking of it that way, being able to write it out, it's scary to just be like, oh, my intuition tells me to do this thing. That's kind of how I operate. And people are sometimes like, what? What's going on with you?
But like I said, this is exactly the example when the question you asked me. I give both. I will give the aspect of like, hey, this is the logical way to go about it. This is listening to you and your intuition. They're both, if you do it right, going to bring you to the same answer. I kid you not. It's just a reality.
I love it. Oh, so many good opportunities for taking notes, people, as Christopher's been talking. So rewind if you need to listen to that again. Totally do it. So Christopher, I always like to end these, what's the most exciting thing going on for you right now? Whether it's in your personal life, your professional life, maybe it's a combination of both. Like, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah. Okay. That's a fun question. And I'm going to put it on my personal life. So like I had mentioned previously during the live here, I spent some time building my brokerage company. It was half decade, started succeeding. And then I got
Mhm.
on stage and I'm like, oh, this is what I have to do, Dedeyan Enterprises. Now I'm half decade into this as well. Anytime you start a business, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of energy, a lot of sweat, a lot of time. And I did those two things back to back in my late 20s, early 30s. Now I'm 33, turning 34 in April.
Mhm.
And my personal romantic life had to take a step back because I just didn't have time for it, didn't think about it. Now I'm in a position in my life that the business is going quite well. I'm blessed enough to have 7+ colleagues and employees within the business that I could delegate more. Blessed to be working with amazing people like you, Abby and Andy, to grow the business.
Amazing. Thank you.
So because I could delegate so much more, now I'm looking at, hey, let me take a step back and look at my personal life, because I do have ambitions to have a beautiful family, kids, wife, just like you're going to have as well. So these are things that I'm really excited about in the next few years of my life, to really unpack that part of my life, that personal side that I think is very, very important, and very correlated to any type of success that you'll ever have in life. So that's one thing that I'm really excited about in my life right now.
Oh, that's amazing, and I love that you can make that a priority. You
Yeah.
know that I started this whole matchmaking thing with romance, and then it transitioned to business, so, you're telling the right person.
Perfect. Put down a list. Any young Armenian girl that you know that's in a good scope of what I'm thinking about, let me know.
Okay, we got my brain turning in terms
Yeah.
of all the matchmaking. This is definitely my zone of genius, is just connecting people. It's my favorite thing.
Let's go.
So, Christopher, where can people reach out to you, connect with you, follow you? I know I put all the links below to your social media, so people have those, but what's the best way for them to get in touch if they're called to reach out?
So thank you, Abby, for that, and thank you for this great conversation that we had today. Truly appreciated it. I mean, the best place is on the socials for sure. I'm on every single social. I'm very present on it. I have my team running it as well, so we try not to miss a beat on that. The ones that I'm the most active, I
Yeah.
would say, is I have my YouTube channel that I'm quite active on. When I go on stages, I record it as well, so you have a backstage of how a speaker runs his things. Instagram, I'm quite active on it as well. LinkedIn. I started the TikTok stuff and all that. So yeah, those are the main ones that I would suggest, but I'm pretty much everywhere in that regard. So I would say go check that out. And if you are interested to get an amazing speaker, come to your team, talk about high performance, or you're interested to really go to that next level and looking for a one-on-one executive coaching approach, you could go check out my website, dedeyanenterprises.com, dedeyanenterprises.com, and my team and I will contact you and see if there's a fit in that regards and how we could support you within your career goals and ambitions.
Amazing. So again, links below. You don't have to memorize all of that. But Christopher, thank you so much for an amazing conversation. This is my favorite way to start my Fridays because I know it's a little earlier for me. And we'll have to have you back on soon. We'll get some updates on what's going on.
100%. Thank you very much, Abby. I truly appreciated this conversation.
Happy Friday, everybody.